Update. My aunt tried to have me arrested. I'm still in shock. Original story. 4 nights ago, I, 21 male, went over aunt's house to do some work in their garage around the back of the house. I literally didn't hear any of the things that went down. I had my earphones on and also loud machine. My cousin, 27 male, came home high off his butt, I guess, but he got crazy. He usually does when he is on something hard. They started fighting and he got violent and loud. My aunt's friend was there at the house too, so she saw everything. My cousin was hitting his own mom, and he locked her in the bathroom just for the heck of it. Around then, her friend took off to her house to call the cops. They got there, and by the time I was leaving the garage, they were already talking to my aunt. I only walked to the front because I saw the cop car outside. Then she freaking told the cops I did that to her. Then they were asking me questions. Meanwhile, my aunt is freaking crying and accusing me of getting violent. I'm panicking and stuff, so that starts making me seem guilty, and I'm messing up everything I say. Stuttering even. By the way, my cousin took off before they even came, so it wasn't like he was there anymore. These cops are straight up getting ready to take me in. The only thing that saved me was my aunt's friend who came back, and she confirmed it wasn't me, but my cousin instead. I don't know how much longer we were there with the cops, but it felt like forever. And by the time they left, my hands were still shaking. But man, I just felt the betrayal too from my aunt. She tried to have me arrested to cover her own craphead son just after he freaking beat her and locked her in the bathroom. I'm so mad. My mom is pissed off at her, so are her other sisters. But they're trying to set us up to talk again to clear things up. But what is there to clear up? She tried to ruin my life just because she messed up as a mother. My family's thinking we should make up, and I don't think they're gonna let this go. What should I do? Edit. My mom's the only one on my side, by the way. She supports if I never want to see my aunt again. The rest of my family is on wanting us to make up already and move on. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Do not forgive and do not forget. Make it clear that you're done with her, for good. Someone who will pull something like that is literally dangerous to you. Explain this to your mother, and make it very clear that it isn't something fixable, and lay it out that you feel like she's prioritizing someone who lied about something so serious over her victim. It might also be worth contacting the police and seeing if you can pursue her for filing a false report. Lucky my mom, the only one who says she could be dead to me if that's what I want. It's everyone else who are saying we should make up, since she was just panicking in the moment. Freaking bullcrap. This is them making you a list of who you no longer need to have in your life. Tell them to do one then. Add them to the dead to me list with your aunt. I cut every single person off that supported my falsely accusing ex without ever saying a word to them. And I can say it's made a single dent in my life. Only room for better people to take their place. Can you file charges for a false police report? I don't know how that works, since her friend was the one who called the cops and said what my cousin was doing. My aunt just lied about who. But lied by implicating you. I'm not sure how you would do that, but maybe someone else will know. If she had succeeded, she could have really ruined your life. I'd start by not volunteering to do work at your aunt's house anymore, and follow that up by open avoidance of her in the future. She can decline to prosecute her son for his actions, but attempting to push them onto you is a hard no. This is no contact territory. Whether he's charged or not is completely out of his mom's hands. The DA decides who to prosecute or not prosecute. They may decide to go ahead with it regardless of how she feels. He violated his parole anyways, so he's likely getting locked back up again regardless, I think. And now for the update. So, seems like my family decided to escalate things a few days ago. I was tricked into coming to my cousin's house, different cousin, to play video games, and my aunt was there with everyone else. They wanted us to talk privately, but I said to hell with that. They really tried to freaking ambush me into talking to her that I couldn't with them. The only thing I told my aunt is that she is dead to me, and that I've given myself time to think about this. And to not ever try to talk to me again because she could have wrecked my whole life with her lies. Job, school, everything. That crap would follow me forever. After I left, I told everybody else that was there I'm not talking to them either. And now they're getting a lot of crap from my mom and my grandma. I agree with you guys that now going no contact is the only way they'll leave me alone. At least till they never push it again. But I'm officially done with her. It stings still, to be honest. Never thought someone in my family would go that low to get me arrested over something I didn't do and ruin my whole life. Doesn't matter if it was to protect her own kid. He's a freaking piece of turd addict, and I'm glad he's getting locked up again anyway since he violated his parole doing that. She did all of that for nothing in the end. I know some people kept saying to press charges on her for making a false police report or whatever it's called, but to be honest, I don't want to deal with that drama anymore. Don't want to waste my energy on a situation that already drained me so much. Still, thanks for the advice and for listening. I'm so sorry your piece of crap family did this to you. Now you know the ones that you can trust are your mom and grandma. Keep them close and ban everyone else. Can't believe it either. They're not the ones who almost got taken by the cops and have that on record to follow them around all their lives. I know, it's horrific. I don't know what race you are, but all I can think of is what if you had been black and the police hadn't believed your neighbor at all and arrested you anyway? You'd have ended up behind bars for something you didn't do. Happens all the time. If you're able to take legal action against the aunt for the false accusation, I would personally. Whatever you decide, I hope you take care and find a way to heal from this massive betrayal from your family. We're white, but trust me, I know high chances it would have been a totally different story. I'd just rather not get involved more at this point. I want to forget about it. As someone who had a false accusation chase her out of an entire career, I'm here to tell you you're doing the right thing. Thanks. You think it better that I'm just not part of that at all. Can't forgive her for what she tried to do to me. Consider suing her. Seriously. The false report she filed is crime in and of itself, and could screw you over. I know you said you don't want to deal with it anymore, but your future is kind of on the line here. Think of it this way. Your aunt enables her addict son by doing what she does, including what she did to you, and you'll be enabling her behavior by not making sure she faces consequences and getting your record clean again. Not really. Cops already know it was my cousin, and he's been arrested. Next story is titled, Update. My mom stole $6,000 from me, claiming I owe it to her. Original story. She's 50 female and I'm 17 female. She lost her job in March of this year and was behind on rent/bills. So without asking me or telling me, she just emptied my bank account. I'm a minor in the US. When I confronted her, she told me I owed it to her for her struggles raising me as a single parent. The thing is, I'm headed to college in a month, and that money was my living expense for the entire year. It was money I had earned through competitions and awards. Not to mention, she isn't contributing a penny towards my education. And after paying for tuition, I now no longer have any way to support myself without a loan. Not to mention I already contributed around $2,500 in rent over the past few months since she was laid off, and she has around $45,000 in her own savings account. She had no reason to withdraw from mine. Of course, she isn't paying me back. Never does, even though she claims she will. No one seems to be taking me seriously. I called family, the police station, etc., but everyone is just dismissing me for being overdramatic. I feel so hurt and betrayed by her actions. She has a history of being very verbally/physically abusive, but this is just unfathomable. I can't rationalize how my own mother could steal from me. How do I deal with these emotions? I'm so lost and I can't think. Added to Ed, I also can't set up my own account until I'm 18, so even if I do earn any money, I know exactly where it's going to go for the fall and most of the spring semester. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Well, when you haven't spoken to her in 10 years, she'll have no one to blame but herself. I'm guessing this is just the tip of the iceberg? Just a tip, but I think it's the straw that broke the camel's back. You need to lock down your credit ASAP. This exactly. My mother did pretty much the exact same thing. The minute I turned 18, she opened multiple credit cards with my social security number and racked up $6,000 in debt. I had to pay it off myself because I needed better credit for an apartment and she wouldn't do it fast enough. It's screwed. You're going to college, right? You may have to open your own student checking account. Go to your college to talk about this. Unfortunately, you also need to have your mails sent to you instead of the address you share with your mother. As a parent, I'm mortified that your mother did this to you. I'm so sorry. I looked at student checking accounts, but until I'm 18, my mom has to co-sign and can withdraw funds. I would recommend talking to your local bank manager as well. I opened my first checking account when I was 16, without a co-signer/adult, because my mom was similar, through US Bank. I had money put into a saving account growing up and never actually saw it. When I got my first job, I refused to use the same savings account. I didn't trust my mom having access to it. I think they can approve it at their own discretion. Thank you so much. This gives me hope. I'll visit my local Chase at US Bank tomorrow to see if they can make an exception. And now for the update. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who took the time to read my post and give me advice. There were too many comments to respond to, but I did read everyone, and my heart goes out to those who shared similar stories. A lot has happened in the past few days. The day after I posted, my mom broke the lock in my bedroom door and accused me of planning unspeakable things to her in conjunction with my professor. Which is not only false, but so laughably outlandish that I finally called my university as many here suggested. Their police department got me out the same day and put me in a temporary shelter for 2 days before moving me temporarily to university dorms. My mom did put up a fight while I was leaving and accused me of being a night worker. She claimed evidence of my illegal activities could be found on my computer, iPad, and phone, all currently in police custody. I did give the police permission to look through my devices and even gave them my passwords to everything, but the relentless daily interrogations have really worn me down. Thankfully, my university gave me a loaner laptop so I'm able to resume classes. I also found out that I won a scholarship I had applied for a while back and will be receiving a check worth $10,000 in the next week. Until I find permanent housing, I plan to put a hold on my mail so my mom can't get her hands on that money. Thank you so much to everyone who so graciously offered to donate, but it looks like I will now be able to afford all my tuition with a little left over. Of course, I still miss my mom, and it takes everything in me not to respond to the emails she sends me asking if I'm safe and telling me she loves me. I'm trying to stay strong through it all, but I know deep down I did the right thing. There's still a lot that I have to figure out, like opening my bank account with no access to any official documents or a phone, but I'm hoping to iron out those kinks within the next month or so, and I'll post an update again when my situation is more stable. Now for the last story. My 33 female twin sister has cost me my best friend 3 times, and now I want her out of my life at my wedding. We often have dramas, but I'll tell you of 3. The first time I can remember her doing this was when we were 17. Me and my best friend Beth had just discovered that her father, the local cop, was cheating on his wife. We caught him red-handed, and Beth asked me not to say anything until she decided whether or not to tell her mother. Later that night, I was dropping off other friends after the drama and returning home. Beth was waiting for me at my house with my sister, but I didn't know, and my sister called me, not warning me she had me on speaker. My sister said that Beth's father, the cop, had just pulled her over and fined her for a fake traffic offense. I thought my sister was still in the car, but she was at home. The cop likely did this because of what we discovered. I told her, fine. If he wants to play that game, we will expose what we know. I don't know why I said it. I never would betray Beth, and I never intended to tell anyone. And my best friend was gutted, and eventually defriended me because of what I said. My sister never apologized for not telling me I was on speaker. She's done this several times since, but back to the main story. The second best friend I lost happened when we were 25. My best friend Kate and I were on a single girls trip because her long-term boyfriend of 8 years had recently dumped her, and I was trying to get away for a weekend to unwind. We went to a rodeo, and I had arranged to stay at my sister's on the way. We get to my sister's to discover that Kate's ex was at my sister's house. She lives in a town 4 hours away, and I was shocked. We had essentially walked into an ambush. I was horrified and offered to take Kate to a hotel instead, but she tried to brave the situation. My sister lied and said that she told me she had invited Kate's ex to stay, and I swear in my life that isn't true. It was an extremely awkward night, and we hid in the spare room all night. Kate, still heartbroken from the breakup, asked me if there was anything going on between her ex and my sister, and I swore, truthfully, that I had no idea they even talked, let alone that he would be here, but honestly said I did not believe anything was going on between them. Long story short, there was, and my sister ended up marrying him. The ordeal prompted my friend to literally move to the other side of the country. The most recent happened yesterday. At 33, my sister called me from a different town, asking me if rumors about my friend Lily cheating on her husband with a guy called Troy are true. The incident happened years ago. Yes, she did cheat, but it wasn't with Troy. It was with someone else. I kept Lily's secret for years, and before I responded to my sister's questions, I literally asked, "Am I on speaker? Who else can hear?" etc., etc. She told me she swore it would go no further. She just wanted to know because she had suspicions about Lily and her friend's husband. Despite my alarm bells, I told her Lily's secret, trusting it would stay between sisters. It didn't. My sister spread it, and now Lily and the guy she slept with have been attacking me. Believe me, I accept it. I'm guilt-ridden over my share of the blame in all of these stories. But I've also hit a point of not wanting my sister in my life, and not wanting her in my own wedding coming up. Kate and I are still close, and I want Kate to be my maid of honor, not my twin sister. This has broken my mother's heart, but I feel like I can't trust her, that she's toxic, and I don't want drama between her and Kate at my wedding. My mother just cried, and I don't know what to do. With enough time, I probably would get over it, but I've never been this serious before. Please tell me your thoughts. Why do you keep selling out your friends for her? Your sister did not cause you to lose your friend a third time. You did. You were untrustworthy and silly. But if you want to improve, stop blaming others and recognize your weakness. You know your sister is a vile snake, but you still keep getting trapped by her. The only incident that isn't your fault is when your sister got together with Kate's ex. Your sister didn't make you say what you said about Beth's dad. If you're going to be complicit in covering up your friend's affair, that means telling no one until after it has already gone public and they've split from the partner that they've cheated on. By all means, don't invite your sister to your wedding and cut her off. But you come across just as toxic and addicted to drama as she is. This comment is brutal, but absolutely spot on. Sorry, Opie. I think maybe the reason you don't want your sister in your life is because she holds up a mirror. 1. Learn to keep a secret. It's not a secret anymore if you tell someone else. 2. Pick your associations better. Your sister has a bad moral character. Why would you trust her after what she did to Kate? And why are you even friends with Lily, who is a cheater and out that burden on you to keep a secret? She can go deal with her own consequences.
Am I the a-hole for telling my friend that my sister cheated on her ex and he totally lost interest? My 25 male, 23-year-old sister Katie just moved to the same city I live in, which is not our hometown. We get along pretty well, but something that's always kinda annoyed me about her is, since high school she loves to latch onto my social group and has dated a couple of my friends. It always makes things awkward for me and the friendship inevitably changes. So typically, I refrain from introducing her to my friend group, but since she doesn't really know many people in our city, I invited her to a recent outing with my friends for my birthday. I got a buddy out called Dan, who is somewhat recently single. Unfortunately, his ex cheated on him on a girl's trip and the breakup was awful, and he still has some trust issues from it. I know that Katie and her college ex from a couple years ago broke up because she hooked up with another guy when she visited her friend at another school. She knows how I feel about it and says she feels awful and wishes she could take it back. Well, anyway, at the hangout, Dan and Katie were talking quite a bit and Katie gave him her number. He asked me if it was cool if he asked her out or if that would make things too weird. I basically told him I appreciate him asking, but he doesn't need my permission. That said, I told him about her past because I know how he feels about cheating. That was a deal breaker for him. He started to say some not nice stuff, but then stopped when he realized it was my sister, lol. But needless to say, he lost interest then and there. They ran into each other the other day, and while I wasn't there, I heard it was pretty awkward. I guess she playfully teased him about not texting her yet, and he just gave her an awkward answer about being super busy. She asked me about it, telling me how much she thought they hit it off and everything when I was honest with her about what happened. Dan's one of my good friends, and I felt like I had to give him warning. But Katie got mad. She said a lot of things to me about being a horrible brother and not letting her move on from the past and all that. Since then, been having some second thoughts. Obviously can't take it back, but she does kind of have a point that it was a couple years ago, and she should be able to start fresh with new guys without the past coming up. But in the moment, I was just trying to protect my friend from potential heartbreak. I get both sides, I guess. Was I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. And bro, just tell her to stop trying to hook up with your friends. Are you kidding? Exactly. They're OP's friends, not disposable, not a menu. How many friendships of hers would he have to ruin before she'd stop introducing him to hers? 1? Yes, she would have flipped out after the first girlfriend dumped her as a friend because of her brother's wrongdoings. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. It's not cool for your sister to repeatedly go after your friends. Seriously though, she had no problem finding a random guy to cheat with, so she shouldn't have any problem dating someone who's not her brother's friend. It is not even just one, it's a couple. She most likely doesn't care what happens after they break up because OP has to deal with the aftermath. A conversation needs to be had between them long time ago because she just can't be doing that so casually. I'm not surprised if she does continue to cheat with the way she just keeps dating his friends. She's not the only one at fault though. His friends also choose to date her too, unless OP was fine with it and didn't care. But either way, OP also needs to set boundaries with his friends that his sister is off limits and tell them her history of dating in his friend group. If they still go after her, then cut them loose. Not the a-hole. People can grow and move on, but it doesn't change the fact that they did it in the first place. If it was a deal breaker when you told him, it was going to be a deal breaker when he inevitably found out. You just save them both a lot of time. Lol. Agreed. Being able to move on does not mean everyone has to pretend what happened never happened. It means that you accept that some people will not want to date you, or you may have to work a bit harder to earn trust. Keeping important details about your past is a terrible way to earn trust. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister's boyfriend the truth? My 24 female sister, 21 female, is saying I'm the a-hole for telling her now ex-boyfriend what she has really been doing behind his back. Some context, she has been living with me and my family for a couple of months. She and her boyfriend have been together for 8 months, and it's been kinda rocky to say the least. Soon after she moved in with us, she told me that her and her boyfriend were taking a break which lasted about 2 weeks or so, and during that time she had slept with 2 different guys. She never told her boyfriend about it. A couple weeks after they ended the break, I noticed she was talking and playing video games a lot with a guy she met on Snap. He was in another state, so there's no physical contact, but I could tell there was an emotional connection between them. Her boyfriend found out about this and questioned her, but she always told him that they were just gaming buddies. I heard him constantly telling her how beautiful she is and how he would take care of her. Soon, she was telling me that she was going to end things with her boyfriend, but she was going to get this gift from him first. It was a fancy water bottle or something. This is where I may be the a-hole. One day, when I knew she was going to be out of the house, I called her boyfriend and told him everything she had been lying about, and about her wanting to break up with him. He called her immediately after, calling her out on her lies and ended the relationship. Almost instantly, I was getting calls and messages from her and other family members saying I was an a-hole for sticking my nose in their business. I fully believe I did the right thing, and I know if I was in his shoes, I'd want to know too. So am I the a-hole? Edit, to clear some things up, I did speak to her before going behind her back several times. Yet, she continued to treat it like a game. I'm not trying to get back at her or make myself feel better. Instead, I put myself in her ex's shoes and I know if I was in his position, I'd want to know. Not the a-hole. You saved your boyfriend years of heartache if you were to stay together with that thing. Good on you for telling him. I for one would want someone to tell me, especially if it's coming from her sister/family member. Ignore the people calling you jealous and asking why you would do something like that. They're all cheater sympathizers. The ones who are jealous are just cheaters. LMAO. Agreed. Not the a-hole. You did the right thing by telling him. You would have been more hurt to know you were aware and chose to not tell him because she's your sister. I am speaking from experience. In the last few months of my relationship with my ex, he was cheating on me with another girl. At that time, they were in different countries, so nothing physical happened. But they were already in a relationship and planning their future, like things they want to do when they meet, meeting each other's families, etc. That spineless coward did not even have the decency to end it with me first, after being in a relationship with me for 6 years. He was waiting for me to end it, as our relationship was already very rocky at that time due to family issues. We were from different religions. Our families were not on board, and his family wanted me to convert to their religion, which I was completely against. After we broke up, We agreed to be roommates for a little while till one of us could find a separate place. We were new in the city and did not know anyone else yet. I found out about his new relationship by accident. One day, 2 months after we broke up, I walked into his room to ask him something that he didn't hear me calling from the outside. He was on a video chat with his girl. I immediately felt uncomfortable and left. Then he disclosed that he's seeing someone new. Not gonna lie, I was hurt, but put up a brave face at that moment. But one detail he shared made me start to question things. He mentioned they're planning to visit each other's families when they meet. Knowing him, he would never do that unless he was very sure about someone. Some poking and prodding later, he divulged he had been talking to her even before we broke up. He didn't clarify, but I was able to conclude this continued for at least 6 months while we were still together. My heart was shattered, even more so when I found out all his close friends knew and no one bothered to tell me. When I questioned them, their excuse was, well, you know how he's so private about everything in his life and does not want anyone to talk about his personal life. I used to consider them my friends as well, but not anymore. We are still in touch, wish each other's on birthdays, etc., but I keep them at an arm's length. I felt betrayed from all fronts, and it took me a very long time to get over that. So, I would have greatly appreciated it if one of his friends had told me about this, so I didn't waste months of time with him. Next story. Would I be the a-hole if I told my younger sister's fiancé that she lied about my older sister when they met? My older sister Kay, female 32, my younger sister Jay, female 28, my younger sister's fiancé Matt, male 32. Kay and Matt met at work about 2.5 to 3 years ago. He was hired in as a consultant at her company on a few months' assignment. They became close, but nothing happened because they probably didn't think it was professional. I think both, or I know that my sister at least, was hoping that it would develop to something more when his assignment was completed. Kay is a very shy and private person, but even with that, she couldn't stop talking about Matt to Jay and me. When she turned 30, we encouraged her to invite him too, with the rest of her close friends from work. She was very hesitant and panicked at first, but then she thought, yeah, why not? His assignment was almost done anyway. Matt and Jay met at that party. 6 months later, Jay told us that she and Matt are a couple. This devastated Kay, and I knew that, even if she held herself together and pretended to be happy for them. I almost made her confess her heartbreak to me, because I couldn't just let her hurt alone without any support. She said that she's angry or disappointed, that after her birthday, he changes towards her and was even a bit angry. Then when he left, he stopped talking to her. Kay said that she probably misinterpreted his interest in her. I know that she's still heartbroken about it. Matt was assigned with her company some more times again, and it was awkward at first, but eventually they were friends again. Now he is a part of the family. Kay never showed that she's hurt. Now I found out that Jay told Matt that Kay had a boyfriend at that birthday party. Matt is very handsome and lovely, and Jay basically wanted him. Matt was shocked at first because he was hoping for something more, but he probably just thought that he too misinterpreted Kay's interest in him. He is very shy too. After the party, he probably decided to cut his losses and not pursue Kay. Jay, however, kept contacting him, asking him out, be supportive. First, he refused, but then they started dating. How do I know all that? Jay's roommate spilled the beans to me, thinking I knew everything, as I'm closer to Jay than Kay. Matt has now proposed to Jay. I feel sick because I want to tell Matt what happened so he makes an informed decision. Marriage is not a game. At the same time, he and Jay seem to be perfect for each other and the love is genuine. Maybe he was interested in Kay, yes, but obviously it wasn't that deep. Also Kay, I want to tell her, but she seems okay with the relationship too. She made it clear that Matt and Jay obviously meant to be or it wouldn't have happened. But I want to tell. Would I be the a-hole if I told everyone what happened? Now for the top comments. Wow, sister is something. She certainly didn't consider anyone else when she made her decisions back then. I would probably say something so he can make an informed decision, but be prepared for the backlash. The thing is, Jay and Matt are great together. He and Kay are so much alike, yes, both shy and introverted and very calm. But Jay's a social butterfly, and he has even said that she has taken him out of his shell, so I don't know. My only thought is, I would have wanted to know. But if I tell, I'm ready for the backlash. You should tell. Jay stole Matt's choice from him. Everything they have built is based on a lie. She didn't just tell that lie once. She told it repeatedly. She faked sympathy and comfort him. She manufactured the entire origins of their relationship. If Jay has deceived him in this way, I guarantee she has deceived him in others. Her behavior was foul and selfish. She didn't care who she hurt as long as she got what she wanted. How many other times has she hurt him to get what she wants? If their Matt and Jay's love is real, they will get over it. If it's not, and I don't see how it can be when it's built on sand, please let this man have the opportunity to escape before Jay tricks him into marriage. There's zero chance that Matt and Kay would be together, and that is not the point either. I want my big sister's heart to heal and Matt to make an informed decision. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling coworker her kid is why I wouldn't date her? Disclaimer. This isn't one of those anti-dating single moms posts. I'm a single dad and have dated other single parents in the past. I have a coworker, let's call Pam, who I've worked with a couple years now, and she's a lovely woman. She's very pretty, good at her job, and I value her as both a coworker and a friend. She got divorced about a year ago and has started getting back into dating in the last few months. Nothing serious though. I'm widowed and have a 7-year-old. I'm definitely not opposed to dating another single parent, as I have before. Problem is, her kid is honestly unbearable to me. It's hard to say how much is his fault, as he does have ODD, and I suspect some other things as well. He's 13 years old but regularly throws tantrums you'd expect of a much younger child. He's been suspended from school multiple times, and she has had to have him come into work with her to keep an eye on him, and he always gets into trouble here as well. As far as non-predators go, he's the worst kid I've ever been around. About a month ago, we were at a work function lately and dating came up, and she asked me if I was seeing anybody. I told her no, and she brought up us going out as we get along so well. I gave her the whole "we work together and I don't crap where I eat" thing, and she let it go, but mentioned how a lot of our coworkers met at work and it worked out for them. For what it's worth, we were in different departments, so we work on different floors. So while I see her at work a decent amount, it's not really a working together and seeing each other everyday thing. The last week, the weather has been beautiful, and yesterday management let us all off an hour early to enjoy the weather, and a lot of us went to the place next door. She brought us up again and again. I gave her the same thing. She then pushed and said she doesn't believe me. She asked if I don't like to date other parents, and I told her no, it's not that. She kept pushing, and I was honest that her kid is just too much. Not that I don't think I could handle a tough kid, but I just have no desire to put up with that for a kid who's not mine. From what little I know about ODD, it doesn't seem like a phase, and I'm not signing me and my kid up to deal with that long term. Let's just say she did not take it well and snapped at me about talking about her kid and left shortly after. Today I'm working from home, but feeling a little guilty about it all. Was I an a-hole who should apologize or just let it go? Frankly, her aggressive investigation of why you wouldn't date her was inappropriate in the first place. No one is entitled to an explanation as to why you don't want to date them. You could have refused, but she was so pushy. I don't think she would have accepted it. She's going to think less of you though. It's probably not either her fault nor her son's fault that he's like this. Yeah, I don't blame her for her son. I think it's a brain chemistry thing. It's just not something I would sign myself or my kid up to deal with. Please shoot HR an email about the interaction just to be safe. Yeah, our HR director and president of the company are two of my childhood best friends, so I'm not worried. But I shot the HR guy a note just in case. He's documenting it, but won't bring it up unless she does. She's a good employee overall, and we know she's been through a lot in the last year, so we're not trying to get her in trouble, but we are documenting to cover ourselves in case. That's nice of you to consider. Hopefully she'll let it go. I'm sure on some level she knows it's about her kid. It's hard enough dating with the kids involved, and having extreme circumstances makes it even more challenging. The fact that you're already a parent means that it's important for you to consider your child's well-being and safety in introducing potential permanent people in their life. Please always keep that priority. Her hurt feelings are not your fault, and it might be the reality that she needed to hear out loud from someone. She has a few more years before he's an adult. She can still have a relationship, but should leave her kid out of it, assuming she has a co-parenting partner. It sounds like her child is going to have problems in adulthood. Anyone that dates her has to know about her child. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex I don't care if her daughter is crying about being left behind when my son's with me? I, 27 male, was with my ex for 4.5 years and we had our son 6 together. We broke up when he was 2, after I learned she'd cheated on me and the baby she was carrying might not be mine. When her daughter was born, we did a DNA test for both kids. My son was mine, which I felt I knew anyway, but it was also confirmed her daughter was not mine. She doesn't know who her daughter's father is, and I was asked by her parents, and her sister to raise her as mine anyway, so the kids would be brought up the same. I said no. We weren't married, so it wasn't like I was the assumed father, which made it easier for me to just get 50% custody of my son and focus on being a dad to him. Things between us aren't good, and I don't play a role in her daughter's life. Exchanges are done quickly, and I don't engage when she tries to get me to interact with her daughter or asks me to consider including her. I have sent emails to keep documented proof that I am staying civil, but I don't want her daughter in my care, and I have communicated this with her. Mostly, it's not too bad. But lately, she has been upping her efforts to get me involved in her daughter's life and to take her daughter on as my own. She even confronted me in public space and told me her daughter cries when her brother leaves and wants to run up and hug me. But since she knows I wouldn't be okay with that, she keeps her daughter away. She said it kills her. She also said her little girl didn't choose this, and she knows she messed up. But her daughter cries so much over me. She asked if I could see her as our son's sister and love her as my daughter for his sake, if not for hers. I told her I don't care. I did not make her daughter, and I will not be responsible for raising her daughter. I told her to put the work into finding her daughter's father and to leave me alone. Her sister DM'd me on social media and asked how I could be a dad and so heartless about an innocent kid. Then her friend did the same with a more strongly worded DM that accused me of being misogynistic and claimed I wouldn't act like this if she had another son, which isn't true at all, but she sure acted like it was. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Yes, you are. Clearly, you are not the bigger man and are teaching your child to be a petty man in the process. No wonder your wife cheated on you. You're not a man. She wasn't my wife, and she's the one who chose to sleep around so much she doesn't know the father. If I'm such a little man, then sure, she should look for a real man to be her daughter's father. She knows who the dad is. He either ghosted when she became pregnant so he's not a fallback option, or he's not stable. Or both. She cheated with more than one guy, and these were one-night hookups, so it's very easy to believe she doesn't know from my side. It makes it worse for me because she put us all in danger with that. As long as you're prioritizing your own child's well-being, you are not the a-hole. It may be tough for the ex's daughter, but that's not your responsibility. Focus on your own family. Based on the timeline provided, this little girl wasn't even born when Opie left and is at most 4 years old now. She doesn't know Opie, so any expectations she has about Opie are coming from her mother. Assuming this drama about the little girl crying and wanting to hug him is even true. My money is on it being pure manipulation. The ex must be encouraging this and is actively harming her daughter in doing so. I'm sure there would be some tears and fear of missing out no matter what. It's still a little girl whose big brother is off doing something without her, but it sure sounds like the ex is making it so much worse. We can all feel sorry for the little girl while recognizing that any sorrow she feels is 100% the fault of the mother and not OP's issue to fix, and not OP's issues to fix. However, would anyone be surprised if the mother wasn't going out of her way to ensure the daughter is unaffected? Whether through omission or commission, she's making it worse than it needs to be. OP, your mantra is, if you feel angry about the girl's circumstances, please direct your anger to whoever put her in that situation. I had no role in that. Don't name the mother. Just make the situation clear. Then block, block, block. If necessary, return to court if the mother keeps violating boundaries. I wonder about that too. She doesn't have to bring her daughter to exchanges. She doesn't have to let her go undistracted if I go by her house to pick my son up. I've tried to find ways to stop this girl being present, and it doesn't work. So that's on my ex. Next story. Am I the a-hole for walking my sister down the aisle and saying I wouldn't do it for the girl my parents adopted? My parents were best friends with a couple named Ben and Kathy. They had a daughter who was a year younger than me. Growing up, she was horrible, especially to me. She'd steal my stuff, embarrass me in school, and bully me. In middle school, she passed around a photo of me as a toddler where I had no clothes on. She told everyone I wet the bed until I was 8. It turned out it was due to an undiagnosed kidney condition. She also tried to make me out to be a creep who was spying on girls changing. It wasn't true. It turned out to be her boyfriend at the time, but she said she saw me when some of the girls complained about feeling eyes on them. Ben and Kathy died when she was 15, and my parents adopted her and finished raising her. My sister and I were so angry at them. They knew what she was like, but they said she was family, and they'd promised her parents that we should love and be there for her. After the death of her parents and being adopted by mine, she changed and suddenly wanted to be close to my sister and me. But we wanted nothing to do with her. Our parents put us in therapy and punished us for ignoring her. But we were angry with them too and had no contact when we went to college. My sister is 2 years younger than me. We're still very low contact. My sister got married a few weeks ago, didn't even invite our parents or this girl, and I walked her down the aisle. At a family party over the weekend, it was talked about. Our extended family found it sweet. Then the girl said something about doing it for both sisters, and I said no way I would ever do it for her. She looked hurt, and my parents told me I was the one who couldn't let a child grow up and change how she was. I said she tried to get me in big trouble with that spying on girls changing. I said that kind of thing can ruin people. I also told them they chose someone who was never family over their actual kids. My sister backed me up. They said I didn't have to act like it was outrageous that I wouldn't walk this girl down the aisle too. And they said she's my sister whether I like it or not. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Stop engaging with all of them for peace of mind. Stop trying to explain. The answer ends at no. Why can't OP's dad walk her down the aisle? Why is this even an issue? OP's parents are just trying to start some drama. Agreed in both fronts, not the a-hole and don't engage. She may be your adopted sister, but she's also your bully, and that outweighs any familial relationship. Do your parents not care how this girl treated you? Sure, people can change, but scars from bullying never go away. Your adopted sister is going to have to live with the guilt and accept that you want nothing to do with her. The person walking down the aisle chooses who accompanies them, but one can also decline to do so. Stay low contact with your parents and adoptive sister. Actions have consequences, not the a-hole. They never acted like they cared. They put me at risk of being accused of even worse, and who knows why she didn't, but I feel so lucky because they didn't protect me from that. Heck, they knew she was putting me through hell and acted like she was still my family. As someone else with an abusive adopted sibling, I didn't even tell my brother. It was a small affair, so I just prayed he didn't come by my parents' house because that's where we hosted the reception. I don't even let my toddler near my brother on the off chance he's around. Your parents didn't get the message when they were left out of their daughter's wedding? Also, this girl only said that you get a reaction and cause trouble. She fully knows you'd never do that. She's playing your parents for suckers. Nope, they still hope we'll reconcile one day. Maybe my sister will. She didn't deal with us much. But me? Never. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad I'm not cutting off my grandma for not treating my stepsister the same as me? My dad and grandma have been fighting a lot since he got married 5 years ago. Grandma knows that dad has poured way more energy into his stepdaughter 16 than me 17, and she tried to warn him that it was pushing me away. Dad would get defensive and say I needed to adjust to sharing him, and look, I get a mom out of it, like my stepsister got a dad out of it. She told him I was being left out, and that it wasn't his wife's job to make up for him focusing on his stepdaughter. It was on him to be a father to his son. My dad called her an interfering old bat and told her to buzz off. I backed my grandma up during one of their fights, and he accused her of putting it in my head. But I went to her about it, not the other way around. In retaliation, my grandma spoiled me and showered me with love and affection, and she doesn't do anything for my stepsister. This made my dad and his wife super mad. They said we should be treated equally or neither gets anything. My grandma wrote out what I got for Christmas the year before they got married, the year they got married, and the year after they got married, and what my sister got. She showed them the disparity in what they got me versus her and showed that she had previously treated us both the same with gifts and stuff, but not more. My stepsister is upset and hurt because she has no grandparents and wanted my grandma to accept her. I should probably feel bad about that, but I don't. She got my dad, so I'm glad grandma is loyal to me and not some new girl in our lives. It's not her fault, but I don't consider her family. I wish she and her mom would go away again so I could have a good relationship with my dad. But my dad is crazy about his wife and stepdaughter, so it won't happen. I spent a lot of time with grandma because of everything. This annoys my dad. He said I should be loyal to my family, and I told him I am. He said he meant my sister and the family we have at home. I told him I don't have a sister. I live with a random girl, but she's not biologically his daughter nor legally his. I told him I'm not going to let her get everything while I get nothing. He said I had a better life than her before their marriage, so I can't accept that she needs extra? And I told him no. I said he picked her over me and I wouldn't forget it. Dad found out grandma got me a ton of stuff for Christmas, and I told him I'm going to her house this year. He told me I'm going to get showered in gifts and not cut off the woman who got her own granddaughter nothing for Christmas. I said I'm not cutting grandma off for a stepsister I didn't ask for and don't care about. I don't care if she doesn't treat us the same, because at least someone is picking me over her. I told him this all goes back to him tossing me aside the very first chance he got and prioritizing stepkid. He told me he was disappointed in my lack of empathy, and I told him he disappointed me in his failings as my dad. Not his stepdaughter's dad, but mine. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your dad just trying to shove his new family down your throat, which never works. I don't know why parents think it will. Is your mom in your life? Can you go live with her? Mom isn't in my life, so I can't live with her. Hopefully after a year, you can move in with your grandma full-time. Not the a-hole. Seriously, what did he expect? If I were you, I'd be asking Nana if I could move in with her. He's being unreasonable, and just because he may have had a better life than her before the marriage is irrelevant. He shouldn't be pushing his own son out for another man's child. That's absurd. I'm glad you have a strong bond with your grandmother. I miss my Nana every day, and she's been gone 4 decades. Please stick to your guns. Any parent that chooses a partner over their own children is a selfish a-hole. He expected way too much and still doesn't get it, but he never will. He doesn't want to. So I'll deal with that reality. Your dad sucks as a parent. I'm sorry he's treating you like this. Go live with your grandma. You're old enough that even if he calls the police, they won't make you go home. I'll stay until I'm 18 just to make sure there isn't any legal issue with me moving. I'd hate to make my life even more sucky, even if it's just for a short period until I'm 18. Last story. Am I the a-hole for evicting my sister from my house before she claims squatters' rights? My mother passed away in 2016. She had stage 4 lung cancer, among other health issues. My older sister, who had been distant, finally stepped up and handled our mother's hospice care during her last year with us. I had bought a house and put my mother's name on it so she would have a home in her older age. Needless to say, my sister got power of attorney while our mom was in hospice and created a will for her. I told my sister, who was staying with a friend, that if she needed a place to live, she was more than welcome to stay with me. I made it clear that this wasn't a permanent arrangement and that she would eventually need to move out. I also told her she could decorate as she liked to make herself feel at home, but I asked her to leave certain areas, like the backyard and kitchen, to me. My goal was to make her feel comfortable while she was staying with me. Life happens, and I know not everything goes as planned. My sister is a cancer survivor and has had complications after recovery. At one point, she had to be on bed rest for a few months, so I made sure she was comfortable and didn't have to worry about anything. During that time, her daughter also moved in to help her recover. My niece has been living in New York City, but her lease was ending and they asked if she could stay with me temporarily while she figured out her next steps. When my sister first moved in, I helped her find a few jobs. We live in a bigger city and she didn't know anyone here. However, she's had about 6 or 7 jobs since moving in, and none of them worked out for her. From what I've gathered, there's always some kind of drama with her managers or coworkers. Eventually, I had to stop finding her jobs because I started losing friends over it. Now to the heart of the issue. Last year, in December 2023, I let my sister know that my girlfriend and I wanted to take our relationship to the next level, and I asked if she could please find a place to live by spring 2024. I thought she understood me, but by spring, I realized that wasn't the case. When I asked if she had found a place to live, she was shocked. Then she became angry, saying she felt like I was kicking her out. She also brought up my house, claiming she was owed a portion of it because our mother's name was on it. After I got her to calmly talk to me, we discussed things further. She eventually agreed to look for a place within the next 6 months. This was in March 2024. I told her I would help her with rent money and moving costs to make the transition easier for her. When she asked about the timeline, I said 6 months should be plenty of time to find a place and move out, but I asked her not to make me wait another year. This is now December 5, 2024. She texted me this morning saying, "What if I can't find a place by the 15th? What do you want me to do? And how am I supposed to pack in 2 weeks?" I didn't check in with her weekly about her search for a place, but I figured she was an adult who could handle it. If she had asked me about storing some of her things here until she got settled, I would have said that's fine. I didn't expect her to move everything in one go. So am I the a-hole here? It'd be more useful to consult a lawyer for legal advice rather than moral advice here. Find out if your late mother's ownership passed to your sister, as well as how squatters' rights work in your area. Apologies for not mentioning that my house has a joint tenancy with the right of survivorship deed. I was giving my dying mother a little peace of mind. Dude, she hasn't been looking for anywhere else to live. You've given her a year now, and she still hasn't gone anywhere because she has no intention of doing so. You need to find that shiny spine and tell her to get the heck out now. She has taken advantage of you for long enough. If we were kids, I definitely would have dragged her out of my room by now. I've softened up. Update. Am I the a-hole for throwing my brother's prison trauma in his face to prove a point? Original post. My brother has always been an angry, hot-headed thug. Since he was a small kid, he showed violent behavior, idolized gangs, and would just generally be a prick to everyone. He's the kind of guy that goes on about respecting him and tries to intimidate everyone just because he can. When he was a teenager, it escalated dramatically, and our parents tried whatever they could to fix it. He started using drugs when he was 16. By the time he was 19, he went to prison for 2 years. Prison changed him. After he got out, he was not the same guy. He flinched when you touched him, slept with the lights on, and added an extra lock to the door of his room when he stayed with my parents. He was broken. He eventually had a full-blown mental breakdown where he started talking about what happened. It was about as bad as you expected. His combative nature isolated him day one and made him a target for all kinds of abuse this entire sentence. He's been in therapy for years. He's 32 now. He went back to school, met a nice woman, and is actually turning his life around. Our relationship isn't perfect, and it will never be fully healed, but he's trying to actually be a human being. The problem has been the last couple months. You can see it on his face, the way he acts. He's slowly going back to his old ways. He acts aggressive around mom and dad. When he's out, he tries to pick fights again. The people he hangs around with are known violent felons and suspected dealers. He had a girlfriend for about a year, but she left him because he started frequently screaming, throwing things around their apartment, and threatening to hurt her. It's obvious he's using again. He is slowly unraveling and throwing away years of progress. Our parents tried talking to him, offered rehab, offered for him to stay with them for some time. He flipped out at our parents, and after years of his crap, they simply walked away and blocked him for the time being. They spent years and countless dollars before and after his sentence to try and help him. They were done. I tried talking to him. His place was a mess and he had empty alcohol bottles and pill containers scattered around his place. He got hostile very quickly when I pointed out the obvious and threatened me. I snapped and brought up what he told us about his prison time and told him it would all be waiting for him again if he doesn't fix his act, and that this time his family won't be waiting to help clean up his mess. It shut him down super quickly, and he just curled up on a couch and weakly told me to leave. I felt terrible since I brought it up, but he is gladly throwing away years of progress for the same crap that got him in trouble in the first place. He knows what prison is like, and he is doing everything he can to go back there. He's spitting in the face of everyone who went to bat for him chasing the same heist that almost destroyed his life. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Tough love. Tough for you having to say it to your brother, and tough for him being reminded of that time. Not a-hole. Not a-hole. Sometimes you just can't help the drowning man who's slapping you away from saving him. Even if they're family, they're not worth it, despite the emotional connection. There are thousands of people who are in your brother's position, and they're actively trying their darndest to stay on course for their family, friends, and themselves. Not a-hole. Somewhere along the lines, he fell back in with bad people who had him relapse, and somehow he compartmentalized his past prison trauma, probably to justify his relapse and tell himself it's okay. You are giving him a loud reminder to wake up if he doesn't want to go through all that again. It may be tough, he may think you're the a-hole, but he probably 100% needed to hear it. I hope he reaches out to you, since you seem to still be open to contact, and asks for help so he can get better again. Now for the first update. Last night, my brother got high and trashed his apartment. He punched holes in the walls, destroyed furniture, and busted windows. Utterly destroyed his place. He tried kicking a neighbor's door in and throw rocks through their window when they yelled they were calling the police, and threatened to unalive them. Police came. He tries fighting them and got himself beat badly. They took him to the hospital. He calmed down for enough time to call me to the hospital. It was unintelligible, but I got the gist of it. And yes, I shouldn't have gone to see him. But by the time he got there, he had lost his mind again and was in 4-point restraints. He was screaming and practically feral. I couldn't even get any words in before I decided to leave. From what I can gather from the cops there I talked to, they found a ton of drugs. He assaulted a police officer, destroyed his apartment, and damaged a neighbor's front door and window, threatened to end a neighbor, tried to escape arrest, hit a nurse, bit a tech. And to top it off, he was already in trouble for sending threats to his ex. So yeah, he's going back to prison for a much longer time. I'm done with him. Our parents are done. Everyone is done with him. And frankly, I'm very okay with that since I finally am free of the stress he brings. He didn't learn a damn thing. I'd ask for the family to get together and address how he is to be handled going forward. Make your wishes known and explicit. You'll want to address your no contact with them as well, so they don't let onto how to locate you or contact info should you happen to move. That's not an issue. To clarify, the only person I'm going no contact with is my brother. My parents and extended family are joining in going no contact with him. Congrats on your parents being done with him. My husband has a brother who has done that kind of stuff his whole life. In and out of prison, and almost certainly unalived their beloved uncle. Their parents worship the ground he walks on, lifelong eternal golden child. He is the preferred invite to holiday events over my successful engineer husband and our family of 6. The evil one is older now and out of prison, currently living in the aging parents' home and running the show. I hope your family is great and loves him, and you can spend all the holidays at their place. F his parents. I hope they'll enjoy their old age in the hands of a psychopath who'll take all their pension off them. My mother covered up for my sister until the day she died, but my sister was nowhere like this. She was just an alcoholic that got enough DUIs to go to prison for a short time. Even then, our mother said she was in inpatient treatment. The golden child never does anything wrong. My mom went to prison for 4 years when I was 5. Grandma adopted me because my dad was not fit. I was never mad. Always made my whole schedule around going to see her on visit days, answering every single phone call. She got out, got back with my dad. 45 days later, she had to finish her sentence. She got 10 years total, but only had to serve 4. I will never forget jumping on my trampoline, being handed a phone, and hearing her tell me she got drunk and high. I stopped jumping and told her I am done. I grew up that day. So no, you're not the a-hole. Some people never learn a thing, and they expect sympathy for having a pattern of horrible decisions. Now for the last update. It may not have been the best idea, but I decided to have one final talk with my brother the other day before I made my decision to cut him off. After his episode at a hospital, he has been locked up for the time being. No one has even attempted to bail him out. I have no idea about how charges or a trial are going, but it will take a while. As far as I can tell, there is some matter of determining a possible psych hold, but there's a lot of gray area with that, and I frankly don't have much of an idea how that works and won't get myself more involved to find out. We only got the chance to talk for a few minutes. I didn't visit. He called me over the phone. I straight up asked him what was going on. Why did he do this? What caused the slip the last few weeks? And the thing was, I was expecting some emotional response, a plea for help, maybe even some reasoning. But that didn't happen. Instead, he asked, why not? I asked what he meant by that, and he just kinda smugly laughed a little. He started rambling about how his ex, should watch out for him when he gets out. I quickly reminded him that these calls are monitored, and he needs to watch his freaking mouth. He told me to go F myself, and he only called to see if I would post his bail. I was practically pleading, asking him why he was doing this. He got agitated, said he doesn't freaking care, started screaming how he doesn't need us. And you could hear him get into a scuffle with what I'm assuming was an officer watching him before the call got cut. I was practically speechless. He doesn't care, and maybe never did. Some people in the comments and DMs were making assumptions about myself and my parents, how he handled his behavior and mental health care. Ever since he was a kid, my parents spent every spare dime and minute of their lives trying to help him. Pediatric mental health care, therapy, group activities, extracurriculars, anything to try and steer him on the right path. They put me on the back burner for years because of him. Our relationship almost got tanked because they wanted to help him so much. When he got out of prison and had his breakdown, it was practically a clean slate for him. He never apologized for what he did. He didn't have to own up to his family for what he put us through. We all just try to help. And he took the second chance people would crawl over broken glass for and threw it in our faces. Well, good for him. He gets what he wants, to be utterly alone in prison. I'm no fool. He likes to push us far and try and reel us back in. But after this, I am truly and utterly done. Our parents are in the process of removing him completely from their lives. They are livid. He's spending a much longer time in prison, and if he ever gets out and looks for someone to help him pick up the pieces of his life, he's going to be sorely disappointed. We try to help. He didn't want it. I'll answer some questions if anyone had any for a few days before torching the account. To be honest, I feel it would be wise to be sure that when/if he gets out, there is no one for him to come crawling to. I don't necessarily mean move, though that might be smart if it's possible to accomplish. Especially for the ex who was literally threatened in your conversation. But I think you and your parents, and everyone, need to make your worlds as though he no longer exists. He gets out. Family? He has none. These people don't know him. Friends? I'd be shocked if he had any before he landed his stupid butt back in prison, so that might not be an issue. But it's time to burn the final bridge. Torch it down. Ashes to ashes, OP. Honestly, I felt this so hard. My brother has been a lot like OP's, except he got into drugs early, and that has probably gave him mental health issues. He has stolen from family, friends, and has pushed everyone away due to him being on drugs. He skipped out on the bail my mom posted for him, and then when caught, wanted me to pay for his bail. But I said no. I say that because he only half-heartedly apologizes about it, but then a minute later will ask for something from you. He only cares about himself, and doesn't care about anyone else. Not even his kids. Unfortunately, by the time he gets out in the 2030s, our mother will more than likely be dead, and his kids might have kids of their own. He finally figured out that his actions have consequences. Some people are just born like that. It's not something that happened to them. We haven't really been able to find interventions to bring them back to live safely in the human community, and these people vacillate between outrage that they don't get to do whatever they want, and depression because their life sucks. And they cannot or will not grasp why. You all really tried. Now it's up to him to either stay in the system or get it together. Last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my in-laws out of my house after they disrespected my late father's memory? I, 25 female, lost my father a year ago. He was the kindest person in the world and worked as an EMT. He died after being hit by a drunk driver while trying to help another driver with a car trouble. He was my hero and a huge part of my life. He became a widower father to me when I was 7, and he was the best dad anybody could ever ask for. To honor his memory, I keep a small shrine in our living room with his photo, some of his belongings, and a few of his favorite things, along with his urn. It brings me comfort and helps me feel like he's still with me. My husband, 30 male, has always been supportive of this, but his parents, both in their 60s, have never understood. They think it's morbid and unhealthy to keep such a display. They've made their opinions known multiple times, but I've always brushed it off, explaining it helps me cope. This past weekend, my in-laws came to visit. From the moment they arrived, they were making snide comments about the shrine. My mother-in-law said, "It's time to let go of the past." And my father-in-law chimed in with, "It's not good for your mental health to live in a museum of grief." I told them, firmly but politely, that the shrine stays and is not up for discussion. Things escalated quickly. When I left the room to take a phone call, they decided to take matters into their own hands. I walked back in to find them packing away my father's things into a box. I was livid. I told them to stop immediately and put everything back. They refused, saying they were helping me move on. I lost it. I yelled at them to get out of my house. My mother-in-law started crying, saying I was ungrateful and that they were just trying to help. My father-in-law called me hysterical and said I was disrespecting them. My husband tried to mediate, but I was too furious to listen. I told them they had no right to touch my father's things, and that they were not welcome in my home if they couldn't respect my boundaries. I discovered as I was putting things back that some of my belongings I had placed on a shrine were gone. A small stuffed cat, his mat for Magic the Gathering, and a shot glass from screeching in when I went to Newfoundland with my mom before she died of cancer. All 3 things have very low value monetarily, but a lot of sentimental value. My husband has told me I'm overreacting over a molehill, and that I'm just sensitive because I was a daddy's girl when my dad was alive. I'm having a hard time letting go of my dad because we were so close. He was literally my best friend for the last 5 years of his life. I may be so swamped in my own grief that I was an a-hole over nothing. I'm confused and sad. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I would be on my way to the local police department to get a no trespassing, and to find out if what they did was considered a form of grave desecration, since this is literally where you have his ashes and the things he would have been buried with, had that been the route you chose. My next stop would be a lawyer to file for legal separation, since husband thinks it is fine for his parents to steal a dead person's effects. Your husband is the biggest a-hole here. He doesn't have your back. He let his parents put your father's belongings into a box while you were out of the room. They stole objects, and your husband is telling you that you are the problem? Screw him, not the a-hole. I think he may have instigated it. He may have complained, and his parents decided to take action. It is telling that he allowed it. My brother used to pull that same nonsense before he ended up divorced. Complained to mommy about wife. Mom comes to the rescue. Mom is the bad guy. Brother plays dumb. Is this the case here? Not a-hole, and F them all, husband too. They're guests. They do not have the right to rearrange a single photo on a mantelpiece, let alone pack up and steal, /lose/break sentimental items. You can grieve as you choose. It is absolutely not their place to decide, while you are out of the room, to do anything like this. It's a year. Just a year. And it's not like you have given the whole house over to your wonderful father, or are living in a darkened room dressed all in black. This is a hill to die on, OP. Your husband is being so wrong. You being a daddy's girl makes his loss harder to bear, so he should have more compassion. Sorry for your loss, Hopi. I hope hubby can do something to save his own reputation with you, so he's not lost too. Also find out who took your property and get it back. Tell your in-laws that you will call the cops if your belongings are not returned by tonight. And sit hubby down and tell him in no uncertain terms will you let them in the house. If your husband can't support you in this, tell him to go back to his disrespectful parents. I'm sorry, OP, for your loss. And hugs from an internet stranger. I'm wondering if this was the reason for the visit all along, with the husband being in on it. Maybe I'm just too cynical about this, but it seems too abrupt to be a spur-of-the-moment action. How did they suddenly come up with a box? Right? Like they thought it was some kind of intervention and the husband grossly miscalculated. Yeah, I agree with this line of thought. OP, you are not the a-hole here, and we all think your husband was part of this plan. Tell them you'll be calling the police if your belongings aren't immediately returned to you in their original condition, and tell your a-hole husband he's welcome to go home to mommy if your dad's memory is too intimidating for him to live with.